This video is brought to you by Misty Mountain Gaming. Misty Mountain Gaming offers premium tabletop role-playing game products and accessories to last a lifetime. Join us and let the journey begin at www.mistymountaingaming.com. Misty Mountain Gaming, where dice are life. Welcome to the program, Lisa Chandler.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Well, thank you for coming on. Really glad to have you on. Of course, Billy the Kid Season 2 Part 2 has returned to MGM Plus, and the episode 6 is going to be coming out this Sunday, correct?
This Sunday, correct. Yeah, we just had
Yeah.
episode 5. Yeah, and we got 6 coming up here. Very excited.
And you play Susan McSween, who, of course, was introduced at the end of Season 1. Season 2 had some more to do, and now with this second half is probably going to have a lot more to do, correct?
Yeah, we really ramped it up here after, I would say, episode 4. So right before the writer's strike and the SAG strike, we just finished filming 4 episodes of season 2. And then we came back as soon as, the SAG agreements were done, the writers' agreements were done. So we came back and then we just got in the last remaining 4 episodes. So there's 8 episodes in total for season 2. So very excited to share everything that we've done, created, worked our butts off for. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Of course. Well, I've gotten a chance to check out the first half of season 2.
Oh, great.
Now, for people who haven't had a chance to check out the show, of course, it's Billy the Kid, so that the legend and the history, people know about this character. But what can you tell us about Susan McSween, who's also a very important character in history?
She was actually. So Susan was married to a gentleman who was a lawyer, Alexander McSween, and he was a representative of John Tunstall when John Tunstall had a store, the Tunstall store. And Billy and John became friends, hence the 3 of them becoming kind of a team. So I'm married to Mr. McSween, Alexander McSween. And so what happens is, I'm not going to spoil it, but because it's kind of out there in history, but what happens is they get involved, and there's another side that doesn't like that Mr. McSween is involved as a lawyer. So unfortunately, he passes away. And what happens to Susan later on is she's a widow. She gains some funds, some money, actually from John Tunstall, and she acquired a couple cows, and she became a small ranch handler. And then that small ranch became a little bit large, and she was actually known in New Mexico as the cattle queen in New Mexico. And she just became a huge ranch handler, which was unheard of back in the day. It's just very rare for a woman to kind of have that power on a farm, doing her own labor, having funds to do so, and just being a widow. And then obviously she met somebody down the road later on. But yeah, she was a bit of a powerhouse, that woman. And
had a pretty big second act. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And even during the Lincoln County War, she stood her ground. She's a very strong woman. So it was really interesting reading, little bits of history that was either in books, articles, online publications. It was really cool to read about her story and who she was as a woman in that time, and the restrictions that women had then, and just how she toughened it out, and she just also stood her ground. It was I really enjoyed reading the full depth of her and kind of diving into that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That must be like, not often do you get to play a historical character that it's like there's a exact book that you can read. Like, here's the book on this person. Like,
here's the template of this woman. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no template. There was a book. I'd love to give credit to this woman, Kathleen Chamberlain. She wrote a book called In the Shadows of Billy the Kid. And I scooped that book up as soon as I found it. And it had amazing pieces of information that I love to hold on to, of letters that she wrote, either going back home or just diary entries. And so I really kind of dove into that and used that a lot, because it's interesting. You try and put your version of who she is into the character, but also you're trying to be respectful of who she was of history. So you're kind of trying to find a balance to blend the two, you know what I mean? Keep it real and authentic of who she was, but also kind of put me, Lisa, involved, and kind of mix the two as in an authentic way as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that process a lot.
No, totally. Well, that's kind of like the whole thing of the show. And wasn't it that you were reading that book and exact lines in the script you found
Yes.
in the book?
Yes. I was blown away. I was reading the script. I remember reading it last April, May, and there was some lines of dialogue that Michael Hirsch put in that was actually in the book that I had, and I loved that. I loved it. It was amazing. But he kept certain pieces of her journal entries and letters in the actual. I loved it. I loved it. It was great. It was so cool to read it and be like, oh my God, it's actually there.
Yeah, yeah. History comes alive moment. That's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
exactly.
Oh man, that's awesome. Now, of course,
Yeah.
and we're definitely going to get into this, but you also have a large background in stunt acting. And, in this is a period piece. So I got to ask, what's more comfortable, a stunt harness or a period wool outfit and corset?
They're so different. But for this moment in my life, I gotta say the period piece with the wool. I
Yeah.
had this on my like vision list. I wanted a strong female role. I wanted to be in a period piece. Like, you know how you have a list in life, the things you want to kind of check off the box. And I swear it was like, check, check, check. It was amazing.
Yeah.
The costumes were very authentic. They were all either cotton, 100% wool, no polyester, nothing synthetic. So it was when we were in the thick of summer, we were sweating. It was I was sweating in spots I didn't know I could sweat. But to change it out for a stunt corset or a harness, I love those moments on set when I'm doing stunts. But honestly, I was cherishing the moment of being in a true corset, tight corset, the big gowns, the petticoats, the hammy leather boots. It was an amazing opportunity. I was soaking it in every moment I could, being on set. There was no studios, there was no filming on location, an amazing set. So I don't know. It was a great experience overall, phenomenal experience. So I wouldn't swap it for anything.
Yeah, well, like the one thing that I really commend, because it's like, when you watch a lot of shows and people have like long monologues and stuff like that, like there's a lot of like meat to get into for the actor and you can really admire that. But I've always admired the characters like this character right now that are kind of more the subtle character in the background who is, has to be so in the moment so that they're reacting to everything. And I think for me, the in episode 4 when the the kid's hiding underneath the
And the
floorboards,
floorboards.
and everybody else is left, and Susan's got to keep her composure while these
Yeah.
very scary men are tramping through the
Yeah.
house, and she can't give away what's under the floorboards. Just those moments, like it's like you can see it on your face, you can see it in the way you breathe, like you're physically breathing. It's like moments like that I really enjoy because you like that brings an audience into it. We feel it. So what was it like
Yeah.
playing that moment?
That moment, that was a really good like hook, line, and sinker kind of teasing the audience of who she was a little bit, because before that she was just a little bit of an arm candy, as I like to say,
Yeah.
like the loyal boy kind of thing. But Susan really kind of came out of her own there. So that was kind of a nice little segue into the rest of the season of who she was and just showing her strength. But at the end of that scene that you're talking about, just showing the vulnerability of like, oh my God, I can't believe I
Yeah.
just I had about 7 large men in my house. And that was actually quite a pivotal moment in that episode, actually, to really open up the rest of the season. So yeah, that was a shift in that episode, definitely. Yeah. So it was great.
Yeah.
It was a nice little segue into showing who she is.
Definitely, definitely. I'm looking forward to see where we go from there in
Mhm.
this season. Now, as you mentioned, you did your homework on Susan McSween. You read up on her. You read up on the events and everything like that. And you found out that Susan was an avid piano player. It's kind of been touched on in the show already, but you hadn't played a lick since you were like 10.
Yeah, so I did play when I was a kid. We had a piano in our house. And you're in your 20s, you pop into a pub and there's a piano, you kind of like hop on and be a goofball. So that
You
was like the
tinker.
last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Tinker. But I I do Muay Thai with one of the people that I do Muay Thai with. She's a lethal weapon, but she's also a pianist. She's a piano teacher. And I went up to her, Sandy, and I was like, hey, I gotta play this role where I have to play the piano. And she gave me a couple private sessions here and there, and she was great. She had a beautiful, I believe, this baby grand piano that we're sitting at, and she just kind of went over like the hand positions, the songs that I had to play, and she just kind of helped guide me. And it did help, I'm not gonna lie, that the back of the piano, the keys weren't connected, or I think they put in, I think they put in a blanket in the back because the sound on the day of the recording with people's dialogue. So that kind of helps. So if I did hit the wrong key, you weren't gonna hear it. So it was just, but yeah, it was actually kind of fun to go back to the old piano roots of when I was a kid and doing recitals when I was, yeah, 10, 11 years old.
Oh my God. Well, I really look forward to see what's going to be happening with Susan upcoming. I know that she's makes a return in this week's episode and
Yes.
is in for the next few. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens with her next. Of course, as an actor, you pick up a lot of different skills and things like that. But of course, in stunt performing, with the skills you pick up are you get tickets for things to show like I'm trained in this, I can do this. Do you ever wish that there was like a thing for acting that's that way? It's like, oh, I got my ticket in monologuing, like I can do monologuing
Only
hands
was that
down.
simple. Yeah, if only it was that easy. Obviously, like tickets. I know you're just joking, but like, yeah, it's nice to have, a little tool belt of things that you can kind of use and um, skill sets that you're interested in versus just acquiring, when you're a kid and you didn't really care too much about. So it's nice that I can kind of do that. I would say in the stunt side of things, I pretty much played every sport that was shoved my way and I loved it. So those are some things that I've kind of used here and there, which I really respected over the years. Like randomly, like I did track and field for many, many years, and you'd be surprised by how many times I have to do high jump on things. Like literally run, like flop over onto, so like you kind of pick and choose the things that you've used over the years of when you're a kid and you kind of apply it. And then there's also training that you do. But yeah, it's an interesting transition of taking sports when you're a kid, to a different level and like
Yeah.
really amping it and being like,
Oh,
okay, I have to take this really seriously now. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And but it's like it's a fun path that your career is taking. Started out, you know, working away auditions for acting, kind of fell into stunt performing because of your athletic background, and then have kind of slowly become, stunt acting into just acting again. It's like it's a nice little you got all these tools in the tool belt, as you said. Um, but of course, for years you've doubled some amazing actresses.
Mhm.
Now, I know you've probably had great experiences with, almost all of them. Is there any that you'd say was probably your favorite actor to work with as doubling them?
Um, you're right. I've had like phenomenal opportunities to work with people and just have great connections and laugh and get along with them really well. I have like, the odd story here and there, but I remember, and I mean this in a beautiful, genuine way, but I worked briefly with Charlize Theron on a film. It was an underwater tank work sequence of a movie that we were doing where there was like half mermaid, half car flipped over. So we had a van upside down, inverted actually, and she's on the side of the tank. And this is a film where she has to be postpartum, so she's supposed to have a little bit of belly after having a baby.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I'm
Tully, Tully, great film.
totally, that's correct. Yeah. So I'm wearing a prosthetic to match what she's trying to, but she was, God bless her, she was genuinely trying to gain weight for like to maintain it throughout the whole movie. And we're shooting in this water tank, and we're kind of breaking for a little bit of a snack, but we didn't want to get out of the tank because we're fully clothed. So she's literally on the side of the tank eating a bucket of chicken. And I was like, my God, I love this woman. My God, I respect her. And I wasn't eating meat at that time, but she offered me, I don't know, thigh or whatever. And I was like, I totally would, but I don't eat meat. And now I'm like, I could have had a chicken leg with Charlie's. But it was just amazing. It was like there was like pieces of like like the deep fried crumble bits like in the bit of the tank here. Oh my God, it was hilarious. So I don't know,
That's funny.
thing stupid like an apple or whatever, but I was just like, this is kind of funny. I love this moment. And she was
Charlize with a bucket of chicken. That's pretty awesome. That's
she
pretty
was
awesome.
lovely. She was awesome. I was like, every woman wants to be here. Every guy wants to date her. It's like she was amazing. She was and gorgeous and just talent. She's so talented.
And
So I
there's a
had
lot
a
of women that want to date her too. So,
oh, 100%. A lot of women, a lot of men. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of a fun one.
Oh, man, that's pretty awesome. No, that's great. It seems like you have like a really interesting career, but it seems like it's also just like at the start of it. It seems like you're going to be going far. Like this is just like the first step in it.
I
And
hope so. Thank you.
yeah, I really look forward to see where you go with it. And I look forward to the upcoming episodes of Billy the Kid, which of course are airing on MGM Plus. Episode 6 airs this Sunday, so people should definitely check it out. And before we go, though, of course, you also are appearing in the upcoming horror film Long Legs, right?
Yes, yes, long legs.
And
A
I've seen
thriller
flashes
horror.
of you in the trailer, but it seems like
Yeah,
everybody in that is going to have a pretty intense time. Yeah.
yeah, that was an amazing opportunity to and you know what? I didn't even really think much of it at the time.
Hmm.
Their marketing and branding Neon is phenomenal, by the way. But when I was shooting it, when I read the script, I'm like, this is really interesting. This is cool. And then I look, and then understanding Oz Perkins and his background, and he's insanely talented. I was like putting two and two together on the first day camera. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is really gonna go somewhere. This is good. He has a good eye. He has, he's I was saying an example actually the other day. You ever see the Blair Witch? And at the time, Blair Witch was just very different. It was its own category and it just stood out. This is like one of those films. Like it just stands out. It's not gory or anything, but it just gets you in the gut. It scared the crap out of me at the screening, and I was in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a different film. I have to, if you're not into horror, thriller, whatever, go anyways, because this is different. Nick Cage is in it, Micah Monroe, it's, Alicia Witt, great cast, phenomenal
Yeah. Yeah.
cast. Done for casting. It's just an eerie film, but done in such a beautiful way. I don't know how else to describe that without kind of giving it away.
Hey, no, no. Well, hey, like if people go watch the trailer, if you don't get hooked by that, well, then it might not be your movie. But I'm pretty sure you get hooked by it because it's just there's
Yeah,
mystery, but there's fright, there's
yes,
thrills. Really
yeah.
looking
The
forward to
jumps,
seeing
the
it.
jump scares of it were done in such a creative way where it's not like acts, it's
Yeah,
not done like that. It's a different kind of jump scare. It just kind of it gets you in the gut in a very uncomfortable way. And you sit there going, oh my God, what what is this feeling? It's weird. It's a weird feeling, but it makes you think after. When the credits roll, you're thinking, you're like, oh damn. So go see it when it comes out.
all right. Well, I'm looking
It's
forward
different.
to
It's
really
different.
thinking about that movie after I see it next month. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, I want to thank you for talking with me today. I'm glad we were able to
Thank
make this
you.
work. As I said, looking forward to the Billy the Kid episodes, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This was lovely.